All right, for my next video, I'm going to do the Dell 3110 2-in-1 computer. Now, some of you probably already have this model. This is last year's model. There's actually a Dell 3120 that's out now. They have a 2-in-1 as well. For the price range that I'm in, I decided to go with this model as a test unit. They're pretty close. The 3120 specs a little higher. However, they seem pretty close as far as the build quality and everything else. All right, so just before I get started, I do want to note that all these Dell models, the 3110, 3110 2-in-1, 3120, all of them show fingerprints and stuff like that really, really badly. You can see it kind of in this video, the darkened areas. And this has barely been touched, and it's showing it already. The 3110 I got brand new out of the box was already scuffed. I think that with a student device, these are going to show dirt and look nasty really quick. That may not be a big deal because let's admit it, most student Chromebooks look bad, but that is something to concern about. See, you got these two rubber strips that I'm assuming are glued down like most of them. These tend to come up over time. Now it is raised, which might help, but that's it. So let's start this review video like I would any other. Let's discuss ports. So on the left hand side here, we have a flat power button. This is not raised. There's an LED light, a USB-C port, HDMI, and headphone jack. Okay. Along the right hand side, all right, I have a Kensington lock port and I have a USB-A port. And then I have a flat volume button down here, okay? So right here's the volume button. It is not raised. It is perfectly flat. I'm not a big fan of that. I like it to be a little bit more raised, but inside of a backpack, that may be nice. But for me, if I'm just quickly feeling to press a power button, there's no feeling at all. It's so flat that it's hard to find. So not a big fan. Opening this up, see I got a nice glossy screen here. And I've got a camera up top and a camera on the keyboard right there. Okay, zoom up into the camera. All right, so those are my two cameras. There is no shutter on this camera like we have on some Chromebook models. Not a big thing, but it's just not there. And the other thing I want to point out is even though this screen is glossy, one of the downsides I see to it is the color. Okay, the color is very flat. It's not bright and vibrant. I mean, there is a nice glossy screen, but it is a very flat color when compared to some of the other models I've tested. That's not bad. It's just, I can tell the screen quality itself, the screen behind the digitizer, not the highest quality. Okay, get my hand out of the camera. All right, so that's pretty much it. Like I said, this is a 2-in-1, so this does fold completely back into a tablet. Okay, speaking of that, that's nice. However, I can't help but feel like the keys on the back, which are deactivated, they don't work. You see, I'm actually pressing them. It's not doing anything. They're deactivated in tablet mode. It just feels awkward. It feels really thick, and it feels like those keys could get damaged easy. Now, is that true? Probably not. We're going to do some destruction testing on this model later to find out, but that's just it. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fold this back into a regular computer here. By the way, this is really awkward to do one-handed. If you watch my other videos, you know I'm doing it one-handed because I don't have a stand. I'm just a cheap tech guy, just trying to help people out here a little bit. So we're going to take off this bottom case. Now there's 1, 2, 3 screws along the back. I've got 2 upper screws, 2 center screws that look like it might hold in the keyboard. It gives me hope that the keyboard's actually replaceable without replacing the whole top case. We'll find out. And then we got 2 screws along the front. So I'm going to start by removing these screws, and then we'll start taking this apart and see what it looks like. All right, so I have loosened up all the screws on this case, and I ran the spudger around the bezel here to release the bottom case. I haven't taken it off yet. You'll see it as I do. I will tell you, this was exceptionally easy. I have messed with a lot of Chromebooks. This one seems to come off the easiest. Actually, I think I may have missed these 2 screws. I'm looking at this video. Let's just double check that real quick. Okay, that works well. All right, so I'm just gonna lift this up. All right, there's my bottom case. Now, bottom cases, you can't get too excited about a bottom case, can you? But I love the fact that the screws don't actually come fully out of these cases, okay? I mean, they will if you try, but by default, there's a little bit of play in here. What that means is it's less likely to lose screws over time. There's a couple manufacturers out there that are doing that now. That is a great move, great design choice for a student device, for really any device. That is really, really nice. I like that. Okay, so that's off to the side. So now taking a look inside of the case we have here. So we have our speakers here labeled L and R. By the way, I am not doing a thing on Dell. We haven't actually used Dell computers as far as Chromebooks in my building very much. But one thing, after working on computers for a long time, I can tell you, Dell labels their stuff better than almost anybody out there. So if there's any Dell people out there watching this, hey, great job on labeling. I could talk to you about how to make your devices a little bit more robust in drops and stuff. But as far as labeling things, wow, yeah, great job. Okay, so the left speaker here runs up into the motherboard right there. You see that clip? Right speaker looks like it's running down over and connecting into the left. So this is just our speaker hookup. Okay, so we just got a cable that runs along the front of the computer over to the right speaker, one hookup, kind of standard for most Chromebooks. Easy to change. This just literally lifts up and out, both of them. So there's nothing complicated about that here. We have a battery here. Look, what am I talking about? It's labeled battery. So no guessing on what the battery cable is. Here is our keyboard. Okay, so I'm just gonna pry this back. This should be just a release on both sides, right? And there's my keyboard. That is not coming out as nicely as it should. There we go. All right. Now, awkward as it is, this is actually upside down from what it should be. Usually, when you put something in, you put the push tab the opposite direction so you can grab it and push it. Like this one. See how this motherboard here is labeled? And the push tab's up top? This cable is upside down. That is really odd. Okay. Okay, anyways, that's my cable. Motherboard cable here. So we've got this one. This one looks like it's just a pull out. This is my battery cable. This side says motherboard, this side says battery. So it looks like it unplugs from both sides. Okay, this is so you can't confuse the two. All right, so we're just gonna plug that back in. All right, we're back. I plugged it in. It's just easier to do with two hands. Okay, and it's got this little rubber gasket for the wiring. There's one there and one over here. So it's kind of hard to see. There it is. Right. All right, so that's pretty much it. The audio ports and HDMI and everything are actually built onto the motherboard. All right, so like I said, these ports over here are on the motherboard, but look in here, so is the other ports. So that's not good. So everything is on the motherboard, which means if we have a problem, we have to ship it off to a company to replace ports, or you got to replace the whole motherboard. That's not great. Okay, so it looks like under here is our LCD cable. The hinges look really well made. There's looks like 3 screws on each. Very solid looking hinges. And our camera for our keyboard is right here, okay? So it's underneath the motherboard, so we have to pick up the motherboard to fully take out that camera. So as far as repair goes, that's not actually great, okay? Let's go ahead and take out this battery and see what's under here. So we got a screw up here in this corner, and we have a screw down here and a screw down here. There is no screw up here, so we'll unplug this cable again, kind of pull it out, and then take that out, and let's look underneath it. Okay, so I took my 3 screws out, the 3 I just showed you, just regular Phillips. I unplugged my battery cable. Now I'm just going to lift this up out of the way, and then this battery should just pop up and out. All right, now that we've got the battery set aside, we can see what's underneath. And see, here's our trackpad cable. Looks like it's got a little flip here that we flip up to release. Man, that is a thick cable. It's glued right here. It's got some adhesive on it to hold the cable down. So tape, 2-side tape, and then it plugs into the motherboard there. As far as taking the trackpad out, we've got 1, 2, 3 screws. A little bit of different placements, but it looks like that's it. And then this trackpad will rock out and fix it. And that's how that comes out. So let's go ahead and remove that. Okay. Take 1, 2, 3. Now, this is the question. I see another screw here, here, and there. Is this trackpad held in by those screws or not? Let's find out. So I'm going to try to rock this little lever up here. There it goes. Rock, and pull this up. And let's see what happens if I try to take this little trackpad out. Boy, that is not coming at all. Okay, so let's dig a little bit more and let's see what we got. So the trackpad ends up coming out through the bottom, not the top. So I took out the 3 screws in this little bar here. And there's 2 pieces of tape, one here and one here. I just lift this up. You want to be careful because it's attached to the speaker cable with a piece of tape. Okay. But then when you push up on the trackpad like this, or you can lift it from the underside. Okay, we can just grab it right here and lift up. This actually comes out that way. Okay, it's not bad. It's really not bad. 6 screws as opposed to 3. You have to move this bar. It's a little bit more complicated than the other ones I've done, but it's not bad. Okay, so I'll reassemble that. All right, so I have the trackpad back in place. The next step is just to show you what it would be like to actually replace the keyboard and everything, because this is not a user replaceable keyboard. By that I mean you can't replace the keyboard without replacing the whole palm rest. So what I'm going to do is remove this motherboard. Now, one thing I do like about Dells, and again, I am not advertising Dell, I'm just making a comment because I've worked on many of their computers over the years. You'll notice that each one of these screws is actually labeled. And so there's M2, X4. Almost every screw Dell uses is that same size, which makes it easy when reassembling everything. The one note is this one right here. It says it's M2 X5, so 5mm long. That's the only oddball. Okay, so to remove this, we're going to start by removing this little bracket here over the LCD cable. Okay, we'll remove that. And we've got a standard LCD cable here. Just pop that, pull that tab. It's got a little bit of glue holding that down. And right there's that. Right here's our hinge. I don't need to remove that. Now I'm going to come over here and take care of the Wi-Fi. We're just going to take this out. It helps if I do this the right way. Okay. pick up this bracket. Now I actually like the idea of this bracket just because it holds these cables in place. And to remove these, I'm just going to take my spudger and just go up under the corner and pop. This looks hard, but it's actually really easy. I'm just trying to do everything one-handed here. There. So pop those two cables off. I also like that it's got this rubber guide here as opposed to the plastic tracking. Okay, so we'll disconnect this cable here. I'm going to try to get my hand on it and pull the camera cable out. And then I'm going to disconnect this motherboard cable with a little pull. Okay, and we'll come down and disconnect our speaker, both sides. I'm just using my fingers on both sides here. Let me just get my fingernail here, and then I do it on the other side at the same time, and I just kind of rock that back and forth. There we go. There's that out. Okay, disconnect the keyboard, pull those rockers back. Maybe I should do this with the tool so you can actually see it a little bit better. Pull that, and I'll just rock this up, pull this out. Okay, TP, trackpad, KB, keyboard. So I don't know if you can see this, but it's actually labeled underneath each one of these what it is. There's the TP, the KB, and then BAT for battery. Okay, it's nice as well. All right, so now I'm going to remove this plate by removing those screws and this plate, and then we'll remove the rest of the screws. So we got one screw here, screw, screw, screw here, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'm going to remove those screws, and I'm going to pause this video while I take the screws out, just so it shortens the video a little bit. All right, so all I did was take the screws out, and like I said before, you'll notice the one is a little bit larger than the other ones. That was the one I pointed out previously. Everything here is labeled really, really nice and neat. Okay, again, that's one of the things I do like about Dell. All right, so I'm going to start by taking these two little metal clips off before I pull this motherboard out. Okay, I'm just going to pull this one back. You see there's a little catch right here. Okay, so because I'm trying to do this one-handed, I'm just going to use this spudger here. Try to pull this back, pop this up. There. Okay, that was a little tight, but that's okay. All right, now on the left side here of this, I just have a USB-A port that's uncovered. Over here, I have a headphone jack and a USB-C port that's actually embedded in here. So what that tells me is this motherboard wants to be lifted from this side so that I can hinge it out. So I'll just lift it up. I felt a little bit of sticky, which is the thermal sticker there. So there you go, there's the motherboard. Like I said before, I'm not a big fan of that design, just because if something breaks, you have to replace the whole motherboard, okay? Once you get past that, you're pretty much down to the actual keyboard itself. This is where the palm rest and things are. So again, not bad, but I think today I like the keyboards are easily replaceable without replacing the whole palm rest. But based off this plastic, I'm going to take a wild guess and say this is going to break. Now they did add a lot of extra plastic through here to support these corners. So we'll see. I'm interested to see how this one works. Right here's our camera. Okay, so you notice there's one screw. Move the camera up here. This is our camera. There's one screw holding this in, and then this comes out, and that will take care of the keyboard camera. Okay, so I'm going to spare you the headache. I'm going to reassemble this bottom part of the case, and then we'll take a look at the top part. Again, just so if you need it, you can replace this hinge by removing these 3 screws here, those 3 screws, and the whole top case comes off. Okay, so I'm gonna reassemble this, and I'll see you back here for you in a second. So here we are, fully reassembled. I'm gonna put the bottom case on a second, but I wanted to show you something. This is what I mean when I say Dell really labels things well. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in way up here. And if you look right here beside the Wi-Fi cable, you'll notice that if you're wondering what color goes where, on the motherboard itself, it says white. Okay, on the other side, it actually says black, which would be hard to see because I have, because that's in the way, but you can see it right there. It says black. So you can actually see Dell actually does a really, really good job thinking about a user and how they're going to repair these computers. Again, I'm going to say this is a huge no-no for me. It's a very bad idea to put everything on the motherboard. It just makes for a very costly repair. I really hate that. All right, so we're back together. Looks okay. I wanted to show you something real quick before we take a look at the screen. If you notice up here, look what's already happening to the case. I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but my desk is not dirty. The surface isn't dirty. I mean, sure, I could lay down a cloth or something like that for this to work on, but that just scratches so stinking easy. Okay, let's take a look at the screen. I'm gonna lay it back a little bit. So here's our screen. You notice we have a bezel right here. It goes all the way around. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that's where we pry from. So we're going to insert our spudger right into the side of this bezel here and try to separate it. Okay, I'll get my fingers out of the way for you. Let me grab a new spudger. We'll start off fresh. Okay, so here I'm going to come around the side. Ooh, that may not be it. Let me take a look. So the answer is that is it. You just have to go in more at a straight angle. Okay? So we'll go in and kind of pop this up and away from the casing. Just like that. So you can see I've got a good line here started. I'm going to work my way around the screen, and for the sake of your time and me making sure I do this right, I'm going to turn this camera off for a second. Okay, jumping back to explain to you what I'm doing. So I've worked my way around the whole top. You can see it's coming loose. The bottom I haven't done yet. I would recommend laying this down in order to do this bottom side, just so you can get to everything. But it's the same process. I'm just going in here and I'm coming in at an angle, kind of rocking my spudger a little bit, and boom. So now the glass is separated. Okay, so I'm gonna spin this to the side. Anytime I remove a screen, I do it carefully because I don't know what the cabling looks like underneath. So I'm just gonna lift this up, see how much cable they gave us. Let's tilt this forward. And there's the cable. It actually feels nice and neat. I can lay it flat, no problems at all. So taking a look inside this. So right here is our board for our LCD. Like a lot of digitizers in these cheap models, the screen is glued to the digitizer, so you have to order this whole unit at once. And I say this in a lot of my videos, but there are certain devices, touchscreen devices, where they are not glued together. In this case they are, so this is one unit. So we have an LCD cable here, and then we have our digitizer cable right here that would have to unplug. So we just peel back this tape. All right, so anyways, let me finish where I showed you. Right there, we just peel that tape back, and right there's our little plug that we can unplug. Then we have the LCD cable here. Like any other LCD cable, we just pull this tape back. There's a second piece of tape underneath it that we would remove. Okay. Very sticky tape. Helps hold the LCD in place. And then we remove this little retention clip right here by rocking that up, and that pulls straight out. Okay. Let me pop this tape back on and pop this back down. All right, our LCD cable runs up here to the camera. There's no screws in the camera, so we just take our spudger up here and gently lift in these lift spots right there. That will pop right up, just a piece of tape. We have a Wi-Fi right here and Wi-Fi right here. And then there's this small power board that's located right here that's running into our computer itself. All right, that's it. I mean, the hinges look really nice. Everything else looks pretty easily replaceable. I don't see any major things here. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this and give you my final thoughts. All right, so here it is, the Dell 3110 2-in-1 computer. All right, 2-in-1 Chromebook. So what are final thoughts on this? All right, here's my final thoughts. Looking at this computer, I think overall it's very nicely designed. You can tell Dell put a lot of thought into it as far as someone coming in and fixing this. Digitizer is nice, easy to replace. If you're worried about touchscreen and repair costs, I can tell you that it looks like most of these digitizer and LCDs are about twice the cost of a normal screen, meaning I can buy a screen for $13, $19, $25 depending on the price range. This looks to be about maybe $45, $50 for the touchscreen. Some manufacturers, believe it or not, have a self-maintainer program where you can buy directly from them at cost. Okay, there's a few hurdles to jump through, very, very minor. Dell has you take some online tests, open book test. It's not hard, but that can reduce some of the repair costs. Pros, everything looks nice. Everything is neat. We'll see on our drop test how this holds up. I have some concerns, but we'll see how it holds up. Now, the downsides, I really don't like the casing. I really don't. It scratches way too easy. This is a brand new Chromebook. I just opened it out of box. It's already marked up, and I take pretty good care of my machines. What is a student machine going to look like in a very short amount of time? Do I want to go buy cases and everything else and increase the cost for the kids? No, I haven't done that for years. I think you can argue that yes, it's a great investment and they never take them out. I think it's a stupid investment personally for me. I'm not saying for you, but for me, I just don't want to waste the money. I'd rather spend that money elsewhere. Okay, there's other things that need done just besides these Chromebooks. I'd rather invest money up front in a Chromebook that's not going to show the wear and tear as much. And I have some here. Okay, the motherboard, as I said in the teardown video, I don't like it. The reason I don't like it, everything is on the motherboard. If we have to repair this thing, this device is maybe, let's say $300 after discounts, maybe a little less. That motherboard's going to cost me half of that, $150, $200 to put another motherboard in this. All right, just for a part. On some models that have a separate I/O board where I can just replace those inputs, I might be looking at $20. Okay, so that's a big cost difference. Other than that, I mean, overall it's pretty nice. The 2-in-1 is nice. I hate that the device is so thick, and I hate the feel of the keyboard in my hand on the back side. But that's a minor annoyance, something I could get used to, something most people could get used to. So it's a good product. Dell tests well. We'll see what happens on the drop test. I'm on the fence with this one. I like it. There are things I like and things I don't like, but that's normal with every device. It's up to you to decide what device works best for you. Dell is a good company, so I can't take that away from them. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helps.